Hey guys, welcome back to the compound. In this video, I'll show you how to swap out the feet on the Hammond collection Gallimimus using the replacement feet by Rod's Random Work and Gary Surratt. These feet will be available to purchase on Gary's Etsy shop. The link will be in the description box below for those of you who are interested in grabbing a set. If they are sold out, don't worry, there will be a restock. Gary is just one guy and he is printing as fast as he can to keep up with demand. So just keep that in mind. But back to the feet. For your convenience, Gary has printed these feet to match the Gallimimus, so the only thing to do will be to paint the claws. Now, since we don't have to match the claw paint to anything, it's up to you what color you want to use, but for the sake of the video, I'll just paint them with a color that closely matches the factory claws. The first step is to pop off the old legs, and for that you're just going to need to get some water boiled and then pour it into a separate container, and then simply place the figure into the hot water for a minute or so just to heat up the plastic, and then you can pop the legs off. And with the legs off, just carefully plug in the new legs and you're ready to roll. Next up is paint, and again, it's up to you what color you want to use, but to get something that is a close match to the factory color, you can go with this pavement gray from Apple Barrel, which is a pretty decent match. So just grab a small brush and carefully fill in the claws with a couple of coats of the gray, and then seal them up with some super glue to really lock the paint in so nothing scrapes off when you're moving it around. And while you've got the paint out, you might as well paint the claws on the hands to match. And it's as easy as that to take your Gallimimus to the next level. Rod and Gary are always knocking these upgrades out of the park, and these Galley feet are such an improvement over the monster clown feet that Mattel did on the Gallimimus figure. I just love how rods make the figure look more agile and bird-like. Definitely worth grabbing a pair or two to upgrade your Gallimimus figures. So you can stop here if you want to keep the Gallimimus looking factory fresh, or if you're like me and you dig a nice retro repaint, then stick around because I'm going to give this Galley a repaint inspired by the Kenner Gallimimus figure. So I have the vintage Kenner figure here to use as reference. If you don't have one, there are tons of photos that you can grab off of Google to use, but the colors and design on this figure are pretty simple, so it should be fairly easy for you to do this without any reference material at all. So first thing I want to do is darken the skin a little bit, since the Mattel one is very orangey and bright and the Kenner one is more of a tan color. This step, of course, is optional. You can throw this deco down on top of the orange skin and it would be totally fine, but I personally just want to darken it up a little bit to help make, all the details in the sculpt pop out. For that, I'm going to take this leather brown and I'm going to scrub it down into all the recessed areas on the figure. The goal is to get the paint down into all the little nooks and crannies, and since this figure has a bunch of articulation spots, that would be a pain to paint and would just result in the paint scraping off the minute you move the arms around. I'm not going to worry about trying to paint those areas. So I'm just going to pretty much do a dry wash all over it, and then once I have the figure covered, I'll just take a paper towel and some rubbing alcohol and wipe away the paint from the raised areas, leaving that leather brown down inside all of the recessed spots. And here is a side-by-side so you can see the subtle difference that just a simple brown dry wash can do to a figure to really make all the details pop out and give it a grittier, more realistic vibe. So with all of that done, now I'm going to take some beige, thin it down, and I'm going to touch up the underside by lightly airbrushing it to give it a nice fade, and this will also help clean up some of the brown paint that may have gotten under there on that light side. With that done, and now I'm going to grab some blue and start to build up the blue fade on the back of the figure. And this is just regular acrylic paint, but I have thinned it down so I can apply it through my airbrush. This just makes it easier and quicker to get the paint on the figure, and it gives it a really cool fade all over the tan skin, and it helps me kind of blend the two together. With that done, now I'm going to take a blue wash and I'm going to wash it all over the blue parts to create some depth in the color. And then after the wash is dried, I'm going to get my dry brush out and I'm just going to dry brush the raised areas with a light blue to make all the details pop out. Now I'll grab some pure red and start off first by dry brushing the snout and fading it up into the blue skin, and then thin the paint down and start to fill in all of the red deco spots, starting with the head and working my way down. The key here is keeping the red paint thin so it flows real smooth and you have nice control over it. Keeping that paint thin will really help give you some nice, crisp, clean lines on your stripes as well. Last step will be painting the eyes, and the Kenner one has just, regular black eyes that I feel kind of get lost on that blue skin. So instead, I'm going to go with the eyes like the hatchling has, just to add a little yellow to it. So I'm going to lay down a base eye color with bright yellow and then finish it off with a big black pupil. And then, of course, I'm going to seal up all of the painted areas just to protect the paint. And that'll be it for this retro repaint. So again, a big thanks to Rod and Gary for sending over a sample set of these feet for me to throw a video together for you guys. And as always, I do appreciate you all hanging out and watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and you found the information helpful and inspiring. And if you give this one a shot, remember to tag me over on Instagram at the Jurassic Park compound and use the hashtag retro repaints, because I love seeing the retro repaints that you guys can come up with. For more Jurassic related content, you know where to find me. Links will be in the description box below. You guys take care, and I'll see you around the compound.